This is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And today we're going to be doing a library update. This is September 1st, 2021, and I'm going to kind of let you know everything that came into the library in August, things that we pre-ordered, as well as just things that we've upgraded in the SideGame library. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump in first with those upgrades. So the first upgrade we've been talking about is Giant Rhino Heroes. This is a giant edition of the Rhino Hero game. It is a stacking game, and this edition is huge. So the cards are about the size of my face, so they're about 1 foot by maybe 7 inches, something like that. Pretty crazy. But there's some footage on the channel here of us challenging just to see how far we can go up. But as you can see, they are taller than me. You need a step ladder to get on some of them, and I think that these are just fantastic and fun. Definitely over the top, definitely extra, but a blast. So that is the giant edition of Rhino Hero. Hilarious. Now the second thing that entered the library are upgrades for Barrage. So Barrage is a fantastic board game where you're going to be creating these dams, and the dams are going to collect water, and this water is going to be used to create energy. And it's done in this awesome worker placement game with all these cool mechanisms intertwined in order to have this very cool cutthroat Euro style game. And these upgrades here include not only a 5th player expansion, but also some promo pieces, so some extra people that you can have on your side, as well as extra small machines and metal coins. Amazing. You also have access to this 3D board, and then also that 5-player board, which can get kind of crazy with just the sheer amount of space. So very cool. Barrage is now playable up to 5, and it's just that much more cool. The components are great. They feel awesome, and having a bunch of those little 1 machines means you're not going to be having to make changes often, which is super, super nice. So really like that. Those are the Barrage upgrades. The next thing that we got were a bunch of perfect fit deck boxes. So these are from Burger Tokens. These are some of my favorite deck boxes. These basically you can decide how many sleeves you're going to fit, all the way from 20 to 15 up to 100. It's pretty awesome because once again these are perfect fit and they fit sleeved cards perfectly. We sleeve every card in our library and these fit amazingly. So instead of putting things in bags, you can use these perfect fit deck boxes and they work very, very well. And they fit all the major brands of sleeves, and we use Ultra Pro in our library, but they're awesome. I love that they're clear so you can see what's inside of them, and they are exactly what you need them to be. They're cheap, they're affordable. Really like these. Once again, they're less than $1 a piece, and they work perfectly. So really like these. These are the perfect fit deck boxes by Burger Tokens. Now the next thing is also by Burger Tokens. These are the Lord of the Rings card game tokens by Burger Tokens. Now, originally, we were using these Etsy tokens we had found a while ago, but they were just not as good. I just think that the quality of Burger Tokens is just so high. I love how they work. We use them for Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions as well, so this LCG needed the Burger Tokens treatment. And if you're not familiar with them, basically you're going to take these pennies, a penny, and you're going to stick these epoxy stickers around them. And they serve as double-sided tokens for whatever game you're playing. And in particular, Lord of the Rings uses only 3 types of tokens, so this is pretty straightforward, but they have 1s and 3s on both sides, so it's very easy to use them to count and see from a distance. I love that they're raised from the surface as well, so they're easy to pick up off of a table or a playmat. They work extremely nicely. The other ones we were using were flat on the bottom, so they were very difficult to pick up. Once again, they were ones we found on Etsy. They look nice, but I think that these are just so nice as well as functional, and that's huge. We want games to be able to be played, and when you play them, things are working and enhancing gameplay. So these are the Burger Tokens for Lord of the Rings. Love them. And the last upgrade that we got was for MicroMacro Crime City, or MicroMacro Crime City. This is a fantastic Where's Waldo style crime-solving game where you're going to have something that you're looking for. You'll have these clue cards to kind of guide you through. But what we did was we took it up a notch and we got an entire frame for MicroMacro Crime City. Now, that being said, this was ridiculous. I don't recommend you get this. It is insane. There is no frame that's in the standard size for this. The dimensions are very awkward for it, so you do need to get a custom frame for this, but I'm not going to argue that the end result does not look pretty incredible. So you can hang this up, and we use some of those perfect fit deck boxes to store the cards, so that way people can simply just come up, pick out a mission from that deck box, and then play as they wait. This is so cool. I'm so happy we went ahead and did this, but it is a little cost prohibitive because it does have to be custom and it is so big. But man, if this is not the coolest thing that we've seen in a while, I really like this. It really displays that fun imagery. And when the new version of MicroMacro comes out, very coolly, you can simply slide out this map, put in the new one, put out those new mission cards, and you have a frame that's going to fit every future MicroMacro Crime City expansion. So very awesome. These are the picture frames for MicroMacro Crime City. I love it. It's like an art gallery. So awesome. This is one that we are going to be constantly enamored and looking at, just having a blast with. Now let's go ahead and move on to the new titles and expansions that enter the library. So the first new title is Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Super impressed with this one, having a blast. This gives me that feel of Terraforming Mars in a small package and a shorter time frame. It brings me my favorite part of engine building plus that evaluation of cards. However, this does it kind of reversed, where instead of paying to keep cards, you are going to get rid of cards for extra money. And I really like that. It gives you this idea that, yes, you can hold onto a card, but oh man, if you do, it's going to reduce your options of what you can do now, and you're always trying to be as efficient as possible. Now, the reason I didn't make the 10 quite, because man, this is a great game. I love this one. Now, the reason it didn't make that 10 is because sometimes in this game you could feel like you're just kind of repeating the same actions in lower player counts, but when you're playing with higher player counts, it's all about that prediction, because generally you're going to be trying to do certain things and kind of edge out certain cases, and I think it's pretty cool. It's got that great Race for the Galaxy mechanism where you're choosing the phases, and I think they did a great job implementing the Terraforming Mars feel into it. So I really enjoy this one. That's Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. The next games that came in are a pair of games. We have Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. These are by Nigel Buckle and David Turchi. This is a really cool civilization game where you are basically just deck building, but it's going to introduce deck building in a very cool way, where the whole idea of the game, when you're playing with kind of the basic factions, is you are going to be culling your deck because you want to get through it as much as possible. Every time you get through your deck, you get to develop your nation, and when you do that, that unlocks new abilities and eventually gets you to a developed status. You move from barbarian to developed, and when you do that, you're going to be able to use more cards, customize your layouts. Very, very cool. And I love that there are ways that you can cull your deck. You have these cards that can garrison other cards from your deck. If you're not going to play them, you can put them under other cards and they kind of become tied. I really like that a lot of these cards can put things into history, which means they still score for you. They still count for points. However, they're just out of your deck, which is awesome because that will help you get through it faster. There's lots of really interesting ways to manipulate this game. The solo mode for this game is really good. The 2-player is really good. I do think, though, at the 3-player, this game does tend to drag a little bit. Once again, that's why it's going to kind of sit at that 8 range for the rating, but I do think the game is super well done. I think it's very fun, lots of different actions to take, lots of cool combos and potentials, and I love the different ways that they feel. If you're going to get one of them and you're kind of going for that classic, I would go with the classic. I mean, you want those initial factions, you're looking for Romans, Scythians, etc. They're all in this classics box, but if you're looking for characters with really different and funky playstyles, Legends is the box that you want. They have a lot of weird scoring conditions, weird gameplays. The Arthurians are pretty interesting. I really like the Atlanteans. They start fully developed, which is really awesome because you just right off the bat go in and start, doing these crazy actions. I really like this one. So that's Imperium Legends and Imperium Classics. The next game that entered the library is Clever Cubed. So this one is the third in this trilogy by Wolfgang Warsch. Great roll and write style game. Very simple mechanisms. You roll the dice here, and then you pick one of the dice to use, but every die that's lower than that one you picked is removed and put on this silver tray. So you have to kind of balance between, do I take a good number now and get less options later, or do I take a lower number and get more options later? And I love that system. Now that's replicated. The only thing that changes in this, the next edition here, is the scoring section. So each of these dice is going to go in each area, and each of them changes a little bit. In addition, my favorite thing that was added to this one is actually the addition of a new bonus. So you have the reroll and the extra die bonus that carry over. However, the new bonus section here is really cool. This allows you to change the die when you resolve it to the number that it says. So if I'm crossing out a 6 on this and I took this 2, I can make it a 6 instead of a 2, and that's really cool. It can set you up for lots of fun, cool combos. I really like this one. That is Clever Cubed. The next game down in the library is Railroad Ink Challenge. This is the Lush Green Edition. This is the one that's received the most positive buzz, so we went ahead and picked this one up with all of the current mini expansion dice. They all fit nicely into one box. We got an organizing video on our channel for it, but what are the big changes here? Why get this one or the original? The big changes here are not only does the map itself come with these little symbols that are going to give you little bonuses, which are found in many roll and write games, and I really like that here. It allows you to get some variabilities and powers as you play, but it also comes with goal cards. Now, I really like that the goal cards here are dry erase. You actually write on them and you can cross out. Very nice. Don't gotta sleeve them. Pretty cool. And then the other thing is they kind of make it so that you want to change your strategy a little bit. Maybe you're going to take a bad play one round just so you can eke that goal card and get those extra points. I love it when you have that decision where, ooh, do I set up for the future or do I do it now so I can get those extra points? I really like that system here, and it's done really well in Railroad Ink Challenge. So excited to try more of the expansion content, but base game, this one's pretty fun. Next game is Hues and Cues, a wonderful little party game that is so good at what it does. It's so streamlined, it hits perfectly, the turns are lightning quick, and the gameplay is fun and satisfying. In this game, one person is going to have a card that has colors on it, and they're going to give a hint about that color. So for this yellow, I might say something like, school bus. And then everybody's going to put their cones going clockwise where they think that color is. Once somebody's in a spot, nobody else can go there, so you have to try to predict. After everyone's placed one, you get to give a second clue, and maybe that helps clarify things. Everyone places a cone out. And then when you're done, you put this cool square thing in the board, and that is going to determine who gets points. Everybody inside gets 2. If you're right in the middle, you get 3, and then if you're on the outside, you get 1 point. So it pays to just be close enough, but it's really cool if you're able to get multiple points. But as the clue giver, you get points for people just being in there. So you want to be give a great clue, because that just means more points for you. So I really like this one. It does a great job at this theme. It does exactly what it wants to, but as my friend Dan pointed out, don't play this one if you're colorblind. This could be very challenging if that's the case, because it's completely based on colors. And that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. And this is a big one. This is Ankh, Gods of Egypt, another third in the trilogy. This is from the Pantheon series from Eric M. Lang. Lots of dudes on a map games where you're going to be taking these figures around and trying to control monuments, in addition to using and upgrading your incredible powers. This one in particular employs this really interesting action system where you move your action marker, and when you do so, you get to do an effect, and then if you make it to the end of this track, your turn ends, but a special event happens. And these can be all sorts of things, like taking control of monuments, or putting out camels on the board and segmenting things, or actually starting the battles. It also employs this really interesting merge mechanic. Super cool. I really like this one. I have a lot of fun with this. We got about 12, 13 plays under the belt here at every player count. Very exciting. New expansions are good. This is just a quality product. If you enjoy this style of game, I think that this one is snappy, fun, challenging, and a blast. I think it's really something worth checking out. Plays great at 2, up to 5. Incredible game. That is going to be Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Next game is Glenmore II Chronicles. This is one that I've been having a lot of fun with. This is such a different game where you're going to be using the tried and true track mechanism that you may be familiar with, where on your turn, if you're behind in the line, essentially, you get to go until you're not last. If the last person is always going, and you're taking these tiles from this row. And with these tiles, you're going to put them in your own little area, and whenever you put them down, they activate every tile around them and themselves. So you want to build them in a way where they're going to be kind of chaining off of each other so that you can generate resources, create whiskey barrels, get special powers, and hopefully generate victory points. So I really love this, and the Chronicles system introduces all sorts of mini expansions you can play with, including something as cool as Nessie himself. So I really like this system, and it's one that I just want to jump through all of these boxes. The AI system is wonderful. Oh, this game is so cool. I'm a big fan of Glenmore II Chronicles. Up next, we've got the game Arena the Contest. Now, this is one that played about 6 games of since it's arrived. Only the PvP so far, so I can't speak to the campaign mode, but hopefully I'll be playing some of that this week. But this one is really, really fun, especially when it comes to that campaign style. So in Arena the Contest, each of you are going to pick some brawlers, some tacticians, 4 specific types of characters, and it's going to be your 4 characters versus the other person's 4 characters. And on your turn, you simply move with your dude, and then you do a prime action, which could be another move or an attack of some sort, or you can use specials. And that's the best part of this game, are the special actions. Each character has 2 special cards and 2 basic cards, And those special cards are once per game, and you can only use them every other turn, but the special cards are so powerful, but also so fun. And that's the beauty of this game. Every round, you're going to want to set yourself up for these cool special cards. You're going to want to use them, and when you use them, oh, it's just a blast. And my favorite thing with this is it is a D20 combat, so you roll, and if you get a 20 crit, 1 you miss, and if you get to certain numbers, you can trigger other effects. But the coolest thing about this is, even if you miss, you still deal what's called residual damage, which means you'll deal a damage, but maybe not get the whole effect of your attack. So yes, it sucks to miss, but hey, you're at least still doing something. It's not going to set you super far behind. So I love that there's some mitigation to the luck here, but oh man, those special cards are so fun. I love how the flavor of each character shows up when you're playing. I was playing a character yesterday where my special ability was simply just fireball. I threw a giant fireball, burnt a bunch of people. It was awesome. Or the other character was telepath, where I sent my telepath out, and her special was I could choose one of my opponents, and then I get to use one of their special cards on one of their other people. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. So it's all about positioning, and it really brings tactics to a game like this, which I'm very impressed with. I really like this one. That's Arena Contest. Fantastic skirmish game. The next game that we're going to talk about is Canvas. So this leads us into our pre-orders, and this is Canvas with the new expansion. So Canvas here is such an interesting game. Actually, a viewer, Earl, recommended that we check this one out, and I did, and I was quite impressed. This one is really cool. It uses a card crafting system where you're going to be making these awesome pieces of art, but they are actually made by using a combination of overlays. So it might look something like this, and it's just fruit, but if you combine it with something else, it creates a brand new piece of artwork. And I love that you're creating something. It's so interesting, so cool looking, and the gameplay looks solid. It looks light, but it looks also fun and thoughtful, and with a new expansion, I think it'll bring more game to the game. The next pre-order that we have is Spire's End Hildegard. Now, Spire's End is a solo or two-player game where you're going to be cooperatively going on an adventure. In this case, you are going to be taking the role of Hildegard. So this is the story of her and how she interacts with the world around her. So Hildegard's art, Hildegard's story sounds compelling and interesting. No spoilers here, but it looks fantastic. The art is wonderful, and just from this picture alone, this is honestly what has convinced me to give this a whirl, because I think that this looks absolutely wonderful. This gives me huge vibes of Over the Garden Wall from Cartoon Network, if you've seen that. Very awesome. I love this style. It's also, it looks wonderful. I am excited to explore this world and see what this story is all about. So that is Spire's End Hildegard. The next game is a pre-order for Maracaibo the Uprising. Now this is the expansion for one of my favorite Euro games. This is in my top 5, I believe, right now. This is Maracaibo. This has you playing as a mercenary, a group of mercenaries in the Caribbean, and you're going to be going around and reacting with things. It looks like this one here in particular is going to offer new asymmetric player boards, new legacy tiles, a new story deck. We've gone through our story deck twice, so that's very welcome here. Once again, this is a game that's going to be constantly evolving. More city tiles, as well as these new tokens that you can use in order to get more symbols. So I like where this is going. I love these new expansions. I'm pretty dang excited to see what they have in store for Maracaibo. Love this game. The next game that we've pre-ordered is Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread. Now, Arydia here is still currently funding at the time of this recording, but wow, look at that. So absolutely fantastic. I love this system, and the more I looked into this, I just have really fell in love with its design. So this has you playing a gigantic story, but the way the story is done is you interact with these large hex tiles here, and then you zoom in to that location, and that brings out these card tiles, and these cards are where your character is going to actually be reacting with. You can talk to the people, you can interact, you can fight, and this really reminded me of a game like Sleeping Gods, mixed with something with high character customization of like Chronicles of Drinagor, or games of that type. Now, I really enjoy the combat system as a whole. Like I said, it reminds me of Sleeping God, where you're strategically puzzling out the way that you're giving hits. And then I also really like that this game is easy to set out, easy to play, has loads of customization. And the big kicker here, which I think is just wild, is that the production is so high. You have all this story, you have pre-painted miniatures, you have these fantastic little tuck boxes, the component quality is wonderful. Because of the success of the Kickstarter, things are coming dual layered that they normally wouldn't be. amazing. I am so excited for this game. I think it'll be a fantastic one. Who doesn't want to jump into this fantastic world? So that's the next game is Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread. Up next, we have the newest Champions pack from Marvel Champions. This is Valkyrie. So once again, another Asgard character, but very different. It looks like she is going to be using what's called the Death Glow, which is kind of like a hunter's mark. You identify a target, and every time you attack that target or that target attacks you, you get additional effects. And I think that's so cool. I love this mechanic. We've seen it in other games that have kind of these unique characters, and I really am excited to see how they implement it into Marvel Champions. In addition, they're going to introduce some fun new allies for the aggression aspect. We have Thor as an ally, which is awesome, and he sounds super fun. New Smash the Problem. I love this. This allows you to use your aggression characters to thwart. This just looks like a fantastic pack, and I love the Asgard characters. Always excited, and Valkyrie just looks like so much fun. Awesome. The next thing that we pre-ordered is Corrosion. Corrosion looks like a wonderful time. It looks like this very interesting engine builder where your engine is going to decay as you play. This version looks so cool. I love the system here, how things are going to be rotating around this action wheel. I love the customization that looks like is going to be coming from that engine. I love the card play. I love the actual cog mechanism. This looks so fun. I'm very excited to try this one. I do not know a whole bunch about this game. There's not a lot of gameplay content out here, but I trust this company, Capstone Games. They put out a lot of my favorites, and I am hoping that this one's good. If not, once again, it can always get the boot, but I'm very excited, and I hope that this one's good. Very, very pumped for Corrosion. The next game, which I'm once again hoping based on the designer and the company, this is Boonlake coming from Capstone Games. So this is creator of Maracaibo, creator of Great Western Trail. This is Alexander Pfister. Fantastic job. This takes you, instead of taking you in that Great Western Trail, big picture form farming of shipping those cows all the way to Kansas City, you are going to be on the smaller end, and you are going to be putting your own personal cows on a small city map. You're going to be taking care of things while upgrading your own personal player board. This gives me a lot of vibes of something like Clans of Caledonia or Terra Mystica, where you're placing your pieces out on a board and interacting with that to get special abilities and powers, but it also includes card play. This looks so fun. This looks like a lot of things that I love in games. Very excited for Boonlake. Always willing to try any of Pfister's designs. He's a fantastic designer in my opinion. Super excited to try out Boonlake. The next thing that we've pre-ordered is another Kickstarter. This is Soulraiders. So this one looks so cool. This looks like a healthy mix of something like the Seventh Continent, where you are exploring these card-based systems, but the action system looks so fun. So the action system here is all based on cards. When it's your turn, you'll be using the cards in order to take actions, so you can combine them to do specific things that interact with the board, or you can use them for the abilities on the cards themselves. So I really like that idea, how they're kind of these multi-use abilities. It reminds me of Etherfields with how that is done, but this one looks a lot more straightforward and easy to get people into and to play in a shorter amount of time. I really like the iconography here. I love the way that the cards move, and I love that there are so many story spots. I also really like the cooperation here. It's really asking you to put people into this. It looks like you do want to play this with more people, and I love games like that. So quite excited to see where this story goes and to try this with just all the different characters. I love the branching stories. I'm quite excited to jump into Soulraiders. The next game that we've pre-ordered is Earthborne Rangers. So Earthborne Rangers here, so cool. I really love the whole design team behind this project with Earthborne Games. These are people who have brought us games like Alter Quest, as well as Marvel Champions, Lord of the Rings the card game, Arkham Horror the card game. This is a tried and true team that is bringing this incredible setting to life. So it's going to be an LCG style game, so something like Marvel Champions or Lord of the Rings, but it takes you into this post-apocalyptic future where humans have succeeded in refreshing the wildlife and refreshing the earth. So you take control of one of the rangers in one of these North American towns, and you're in those mountains trying to manage all of the threats. I love the action system in here. You have these cores that you're going to be getting each round, and based on your character, you can use those cores to play cards, you can use them to pass skill tests, or you can use them to interact with your other abilities. I really like this system. I love this idea, and I love the idea that your characters will basically kind of multi-class, but they'll be stronger in specific aspects, so no one character can be really good at something. I also like the test system where you're going to be flipping cards kind of like an attack modifier deck, and you can kind of math out things and hopefully take calculated risks. Really excited for this one. I love this project, Earthborne Rangers. Love this team. Super excited to jump in. The next one here is the Vindication Archive of the Ancients. It's no gameplay content this time. This is just a gigantic box. So the team over at Orange Nebula has released a box that's going to hold everything for Vindication, which I am super excited for because they're coming out with a new expansion. This archive will fill everything, and what we've seen so far with it, it looks like everything is going to have its own tray, so that way it's kind of that system where you just pull out a tray, you're good to go, as opposed to the ones that we have now where you have to get this board separate, lots of things that are separate. I really like this system, and I hope that it works well. I also love the addition of the unified rulebook. I just think that's super overall quality. We saw this in games like Scythe, where they combined everything into one rulebook. Super nice. I love it. The next thing is an upgrade to the actual library itself. These are pre-orders for Boxthrones. So I really love this shelving system. This is what we have in our system. And we are getting some more empty Boxthrone tower frames. I think we've purchased 2 or 3 of them. It's just going to fill out the rest of the wall that we have here. And this is going to help us store maybe an additional, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40 games, which is awesome, right? That just means more space for all of these new games when they arrive. Generally, we're able to bring stuff in and push stuff out because our library is constantly changing, but it is nice to have extra room just in case. It's going to get stuff into places where people can easily access them. We love storing our games horizontally because that way, it's easy to pull out. You see the artwork, nothing's to be impressed, and each shelf has its own dedicated spot, or each game has its own dedicated shelf. Really nice. I love the way that this is set up. Love Boxthrones. Super excited for when these arrive because they'll fit nicely into whatever we have set up currently. And the last thing that we got are the additional upgrades for Mythic Battles Ragnarok. The Pledge Manor just released for this, so the team over here at Mythic, they have said that they've included a couple of things. First thing are colored bases, which we did get. These are going to be ways that you can clearly indicate which characters are yours from a distance on the map. Really like that. Totally optional, but I think it will help with visibility, especially at larger events. The next thing that we're going to get is the Destroyer storage box. I love this idea. Just one box to hold all the enemies, that we are not having to dig through multiple expansion boxes. This is a huge quality of life thing, because if you can condense any boxes into one, that's what you want to be getting. I'm telling you, it just makes life easy when you're able to condense it. That's where our big organizing videos came from. So that's where that idea came from, was how the heck can we get all these 20 boxes down to 5 or down to 1 box if we're if things are good enough, while still keeping things protected. And these storage boxes are huge helps for that. So very excited for this. Big game. We need storage for a game like this. And that is everything that has entered the library in August. So once again, September 1st. We are excited for September. Super cool stuff. We have lots of new things that are coming in. We have the new Arkham Horror that's about to arrive. Hopefully Mad Titan Shadow, if we're lucky, for Marvel Champions. And then lots of Kickstarters on their way. We've got Dinosaur World, as well as potentially Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, and some of the new role-player adventures and Cartographers Heroes expansions. So that's what we're looking at potentially getting in this month. But here's hoping. We never know with any of these crowdfunding things. But looking also excited for retail releases, especially with Gen Con coming around the corner, seeing hopefully some cool new games or game announcements. But that's everything for the month of August. What did you receive in August? What games are you excited to try? Anything on this list that you've heard of or wanted to give a try? Anything you want to hear more thoughts on in the future? I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.